On this week's episode, Venom defies expectations. What's hot with sports cards? And just how important is the New York Comic Con? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos Show. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our expanding programming, which includes a lot of podcasts, radio shows, and so much more. Thank you so much for checking everything out that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is Super Mario. He is the Super Mario of Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. Watch out Bowser. Here he comes. It is Josh Peterson. What's going on, man?
What
It's
up?
me. It's the Mario.
I get a lot of compliments on this shirt. Actually, this is my like not my favorite wardrobe decision, but everyone else who sees it, it's their favorite wardrobe decision. So I'm a people pleaser. I put the shirt on because I enjoy the compliments. Actually,
It's
I
a
don't know what
me.
that says about me, but yeah,
People pleaser, people pleaser. That you are. That you are, my friend. But it is a but it is going to be a great show we have for you today. We've got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's going to share his thoughts on week 5 in the NFL. Also, as well, we have Vince Satullo from That Sports Card Show. He is going to share his thought. He's going to talk about some of the great cards that you're going to look out there for in regards to other sports outside of baseball, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to sports cards that are not just focused on the baseball card scene. So we're going to talk about that and so much more on today's episode. And then Josh and I are also going to talk about an important article that he wanted to talk about that has really affected him. And he's going to share his thoughts on that as well coming up later in the program. But first, a lot of things to talk about in pop culture up front. So we're going to basically just try to jam it here in the first part of the show. And it all starts off with Venom, my friend. Despite the tepid and poor reviews that are out there from critics, despite the indifference that a lot of people had when it came to Venom not being an R-rated film, not really touching that much on the Spider-Man universe, and also not being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it actually defied expectations and looks like it may even get close to $80 million here in the US in its opening weekend, and also over $200 million worldwide, making it a big success for Sony. It is the largest opening ever domestically here in the US for a movie in October. Your thoughts on why that is, how that happened for such a movie that had such bad reviews going into the weekend?
I'm actually kind of excited about this because this proves my point that the average moviegoer should have more say over what is and isn't things that people should watch in the movie theaters than the critics do. The critics, they pan this movie pretty bad, but it's turning out that the people who, like, I guess we're critics, but like, the average Joe, the person who wants to take their kid to go see a movie, just eat some popcorn and sit back and enjoy the day. They're really enjoying this movie. So this is a very interesting turn of events. I am still not too excited to watch it. I will watch it eventually, but just from like the people who aren't like super judgmental from what they've been telling me about it, they actually really like it. So I don't know what to think, man. Perhaps we're both wrong on this one.
Perhaps we are, and that is actually a good thing if that's the case. I'm actually going to go ahead now that there's a lot of reception for it and there's a lot of people going to see it, and it actually exceeded expectations. I now have to go ahead and check it out myself at some point in time. I'm with you on that one. I'm kind of disappointed. I like you had indicated over the past few months that it was leaning towards a PG-13 instead of an R-rated film. And I know that's been voiced by a lot of people that it could have been even better if that was the case. But still, it looks like with a lot of people, it was that it was going to be a movie that they were targeting this holiday season. And even despite the trailers, which to a lot of people were making fun of, which were kind of disappointing to a lot of people, including us here on the show, it's good to see that Venom overcame that. And I think people at this point in time just wanted to see a big movie event, and Venom sure fits the bill.
It also had the added benefit of not actually being connected to a greater mythology. I mean, it was, but it totally. Sorry, hold on one second. So it sort of hold on, man. I'm sorry. One second.
Due to canine issues, unfortunately, the Pop Culture Cosmos show has been detained for just a couple minutes, but we truly appreciate you standing by with us right now.
Okay, sorry. So what it did is it kind of retconned Venom's actual origins and kind of made up its own thing, and that was cool. That sounds cool to me because you don't have to have Venom. It was all remember all the talk. Can Venom exist without Spider-Man? Blah 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 blah. You had all that talk, and that's kind of why a lot of people had reservations going into this movie. But it sounds like Venom without Spider-Man is just kind of allowed to be Venom, the anti-hero that he is, and I don't know. It looks like it turned out. Yeah, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I didn't even know he was in the movie, honestly.
I didn't even know either. Actually, to be honest with you, this is going to be off. I actually was listening to Sirius XM, and we were listening to the top 40 countdown and whatnot. And actually, one of the announcers was just publicizing the movies that came out this weekend. And when he named off the actors, he named off Woody Harrelson. And I was like, Woody Harrelson's not in the movie. Why would he say? Why would the guy say Woody Harrelson? So I looked it up, and it was like, oh, that's why.
Woody Harrelson in the movie? Is he Cletus Cassidy?
It's after credit scene.
Oh dang! See, I had a feeling,
but that's all he's in the movie for is the after credit scene.
Right, right. But here's the thing: if they're going to put Carnage into this movie, or if he's going to be in,
well, hold on. Let's get back to our conversation. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me ask you this: it does still have ties within the Spider-Verse, but they're kind of loose. But there is still a connection with other characters within the Spider-Verse realm.
Yeah, Carnage, right? That's what we're talking about. The after credit scene. Sorry, spoiler alert. No, you knew they were gonna do that though. They had to. Like that's kind of you can't have a movie with symbiotes and not have Carnage. But here's the thing too. You can't have if they're gonna do a sequel with Venom taking on Carnage, you can't have Carnage in a PG-13 movie because he is the most violent Marvel villain in existence. Like he is there's just that's why they call him Carnage. He lives up to his name, and you can't have that. And it also kind of sucks because I want to see Spider-Man fight Carnage. I don't want to see Venom fight Carnage.
Well, and that could be for another day, and that's for another conversation. And let's hope it leads towards Spider-Man getting involved with maybe both those characters. But your thoughts finally on exactly why it exceeded expectations, and so many people actually enjoyed the movie. Word of mouth is going pretty good, not great, but pretty good, and that's enough to keep this momentum going. The second week's going to tell exactly where this movie will fall. A Star is Born, which we also talked about on Friday, which you want to see and I want to kind of see as well. That didn't do so bad either at $42 million domestically. I believe in the long haul, it could still make up for the difference, but that all depends on if Venom is going to have a continued good word of mouth or a bad word of mouth going forward.
I think that more people actually wanted Venom to be good than people who didn't. So they went to go see it, kind of show it some. I think it has like Deadpool syndrome. It's the anti-hero, and he's funny and violent. It is Deadpool light pretty much. But from the people that I talked to and things I've read, it sounds like a lot of people are really attracted to the idea of the duality with Eddie Brock and Venom. How you have one side saying you can do anything you want to, and the other side is like he's trying to hold back that primal nature, and then in the end, the whole movie he's just trying to come to terms with himself. He's not trying to like be a good guy. He's not trying to be a bad guy. He's just trying to come to terms with who he is. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And that's why Venom is such a I don't want to say a endearing character, but he's kind of all of us in a way, if that makes sense.
At least some parts of it, and not the actual alien taking over your body issue. That kind of like maybe
How do you
that's
know,
not.
man? Are you assuming my symbiote?
Oh, hold on. Let me turn this to black, and maybe that will change. But anyways, I want to ask you this though. I want to ask you this. Um, we've talked about how well it's done so far. Your thoughts on Venom long term? Do you still see it performing admirably, or do you see it actually faltering? Because I still think in the second week there is going to be a big drop, as all these comic book movies have in the second week. Whether or not it will have the legs, we're going to have to wait and see. But your thoughts on how Venom is shaping up, and do you think Do you think they made enough this weekend to go ahead and continue this part of the Spider-Verse? And I'm using that very loosely because they actually haven't included Spider-Man to this point.
Well, I think with Venom being quote unquote successful, if it ends up doing better than Sony predicted, or if it ends up, I guess at this point, just not doing what the Amazing Spider-Man movies did would be kind of a win for them. But I think at that point, Marvel and Sony are eventually going to have to sit down and have that conversation of like, hey, we can't have Spider-Man not be able to dip into that pool of Spider-Man villains, and you guys can't have this whole Spider-Man universe using our characters and not allow us to have Spider-Man in there. So I think there's going to be a conversation where they're going to eventually merge. But this has been an interesting experiment. It honestly has, because Sony's kind of bombed their last like few Spider-Man properties, and actually Into the Spider-Verse looks good. Oh, I'm gonna say good. I'm not gonna say great, but it looks good. So who knows? Maybe they're on the right track. I just don't want to see a whole like Spider-Verse without Spider-Man. You know?
I think people would get tired of it real fast. And we've and on the show we have discussed before the Sinister Six movie, Craven the Hunter, Silver Sable, and a whole nine yards having their own movies. This might give impetus to that for Sony, but you're right. It should all tie into Spider-Man, but not do it at a point where people will get bored and tired of these movies before it does so. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man needs to be a integral part of this sooner rather than later, and maybe in his own movie that's coming out after Infinity War Part 2 or whatever it's going to be called next year, that we'll probably get more signs, and hopefully Venom will be mixed in there maybe a little bit, maybe like you said, Carnage as well. So I'm hoping at some point in time they'll go ahead and combine this to make it a true Spider-Verse, so that we can get everyone involved and everyone to appreciate more what's going on with Venom, Carnage, and of course Spider-Man in this whole universe. What are your thoughts out there on Venom? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Did you go and check it out this weekend? Are you surprised that it not only beat expectations, but it beat it soundly and actually became a record for the domestic box office in the month of October? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Josh, did you get a chance to check out everything that was going on at the New York Comic Con? The reason why I bring this up is because in the past couple of years, more and more momentum as far as a lot of a lot of comic book a lot of comic books, sci-fi, pop culture, movies, televisions. They've all seemed to migrate over to this New York Comic Con as it gets bigger and bigger to become a part of it. Your thoughts on exactly what went on with New York Comic Con, some of the interesting things that went out. We'll discuss that over the course of our conversation here. But is the New York Comic Con becoming a big time player in the realm of pop culture?
Yeah, I think so, because if you notice, a lot of the big comic book events take place on the West Coast, so the East Coast hasn't really gotten their hands into that cookie jar, or well, they have, but not to the extent that, like, San Diego Comic Con, Los Angeles Comic Con. I would even go as far as to argue Long Beach Comic Con, because they have actually had some pretty big names there the last few years. But yeah, New York, it's cool to see just how widespread pop culture has become, though. Like, New York, they're now, I love the idea that they're now releasing trailers and video game stuff. And like I've been following Square Enix on Facebook and Instagram, and I see they've got huge booths set up where you can go and you can play Kingdom Hearts. Like, it used to just be comic books, but now, like, comic books, movies, music, uh, you know, costumes, stuff like that. That's all merging together into a big culture. It's like all these subcultures are coming together into this one mega culture, and it's really cool to see that happening. And uh, I'm all for it. I'm on board 100%, and I love to see that um, now. Production companies and developers, like, they have ways of, they don't just have one target thing where they got to release something. They have multiple chances per through the year to keep the hype level going for the things that they're working on, and I really like that.
Some of the interesting things that were there were really high profile, including Hellboy making an appearance there, although unfortunately they didn't release a trailer. But Star Trek Discovery did. They released a trailer expounding on the Spock mythos, and you actually got a chance to see Spock, and also a lot of what's going on in season 2, which looks very interesting. Aquaman got an extended 5-minute trailer that was released during the New York Comic Con timeframe. I know, like you said, a lot of video games were also there. Comic books. I know Star Wars was there. Marvel talked about going retro for its 80th anniversary there at the New York Comic Con. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and now, like you said, because it's really the major player now on the East Coast when it comes to pop culture, he ahead of even things like Dragon Con and other events like that. In my opinion, I think the New York Comic Con is really becoming a big time player in the pop culture scene. The Walking Dead had a panel there that was very newsworthy. There were a lot of things that were going on that just made it very hard to miss when it comes to if you're a fan of pop culture, you're geek, whether it's following certain geek things, following nerdy things, or whatever, sci-fi, comic books, television, film, what have you. It really, they really went ahead and did a lot of great things at the New York Comic Con to bring it to a forefront within the realm of pop culture. And I'm telling you right now, it's just something that we really can't afford to miss each and every year. If you're on the East Coast or even anywhere else, you just got to make sure you got to follow it like you do with the San Diego Comic Con, E3, CES, and all those other big time shows.
Yeah, that's it's cool. Kind of like how video games has E3 and PAX, and well, not this year, uh, clearly. um, and there's just different times, or not PAX, sorry, the PlayStation, whatever it is, which is PAX, right? You might have to cut this out. I'm having a brain fart. That is PAX.
You got the like you said, you've got the PAX shows that are the Penny Arcade. Yeah, like you said, PAX shows, PAX West, PAX East. Those are big shows. Dragon Con, I mentioned. South by Southwest? South by Southwest, that's out there. And there's so many other shows right now. The New York Comic Con is now in line with those as a big time event in pop culture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool they put out the Aquaman trailer is cool because usually DC saves all their stuff for the San Diego Comic Con. and they put something out this time, which was really cool. I think the movie looks good. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but
I agree with you, my friend. I think it actually looks really cool, and I can't wait to see it.
yeah, I'm on board. Hopefully they didn't put all the cool stuff in the trailers, but this could be like just the right tone, the right amount of comedy and dark DC style mixed together. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I am super excited about Hellboy. Hate that they didn't put out a trailer for us to see, because I really do want to see David Harbour in action, kind of see what he looks like, get a little taste of the film, because I'm a huge Hellboy fan. But yeah, man, this is exciting. They also had Sabrina, I think, had a trailer, and that looks. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think what made it more interesting was not only the trailer and then all the other stuff that they talked about, but also what they talked about when it comes to a possible crossover event with Riverdale, which I know gets CW fans really excited.
Yeah, I gotta go and watch that show. I gotta watch a few, maybe try a few episodes of it. I know it's popular. The kids who I teach really like that show, so they're always talking about it. So who knows? Maybe it might be something I could get into. But I'm interested to see this darker side of Sabrina, because I grew up with the whatever the comedy version was that used to be on ABC or TGIF. Do you remember that, with the Salem with a talking cat and she lived with their aunts and stuff? So I'm excited to see this new perspective on Sabrina. So who knows, man? Could be interesting. Could be, reminds me like a super dark Hocus Pocus. So we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, that's kind of all I'm looking forward to. I know you're a Star Trek fan, but my bigs are Sabrina, Aquaman, and Hellboy.
But there was a lot of it for both you and I, which actually caught both our attentions this weekend, which makes it even better to realize, which makes it even more which makes it even more of a realization that the New York Comic Con is something you can't afford to miss. What are your thoughts out there on the New York Comic Con? Did you even know it was occurring this weekend? Is it now on your radar as one of the big events of the year in pop culture? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Before we head on out to a break, my friend, did you catch the news on Kingdom Hearts sending out, they're about ready to drop a compilation in advance of Kingdom Hearts 3. A compilation is going to be released for $40, which includes 9 different renditions of the Kingdom Hearts realm, of the Kingdom Hearts whole universe. Did you get a chance to check that out? And are you regretting your decision to buy all that stuff earlier so soon?
Yeah. Okay. So I still don't get it. Like I'm not super like up to date on the mythology of that. I thought that the one that I had that had the 6 games, and I thought that was all the Kingdom Hearts games. Am I wrong?
Apparently you are, my friend, because this has got Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 358/2 Days, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8, Final Chapter Prologue, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance HD, Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, and Kingdom Hearts back cover. That's just a lot of Kingdom Hearts right there. I can tell you that.
That sounds like maybe 6 or 7 too many Kingdom Hearts games for me.
I agree with you. That's way too much for me, but it does get people invested and involved just before Kingdom Hearts 3 drops in January. So take a look out for that if you really want to catch up with what's going on in the Kingdom Hearts realm and all that back library stuff when it comes to Kingdom Hearts. It drops very soon for $40. So check it out and pre-order it today, and you might get a chance to go ahead and get involved with the Kingdom Hearts world. Before we head to the break, I just want to add one more thing. We had talked about on one of our recent shows about Telltale ending and clearing out and laying off all its peoples. Well, There were a couple reverse reports. There were a couple reports out there. One which the remaining skeleton crew, which was working on a couple projects, also being laid off. And then just the other day, it was announced that there is a deal being made that Telltale Games, as far as the final season for The Walking Dead Telltale game, that would be completed in conjunction with another company. So at least some good news there for owners of that final season who really want to go ahead and finish that whole story out. Skybound looks like it will help finish that at last season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I read. Sorry, that was a little volume spike. Yeah, I read a little bit about that. There were rumors that was going to happen because a lot of people still kind of believe in Telltale, and I don't think it's going to lead to a resurgence of Telltale at all, or Telltale. I think it's going to be more of a if anything, maybe somebody might want to like pick up the properties or invest in the technology that they use to create these games. So that's cool. That's cool in itself. I like that fans are going to get what they paid for. You know, you don't have to worry about, hey, I paid for the season pass of this game and I'm not going to get to finish playing it. It's just sad that the employees are all out because I know that they actually let go the last like what 10 or 12 employees they had.
Yeah, whatever projects they were working on, I believe it was for Minecraft, for Netflix and whatnot, they had been relieved of their duties this past week. But it looks like through Skybound Entertainment that they're going to go ahead and at least finish that last season of The Walking Dead. So that's some good news there for, like you said, people that have that had purchased that final season of the Walking Dead game, so that at least that we can finish out Telltale's work on a good note, and hopefully a lot of people will still be able to enjoy it to the fullest. Coming up next, we've got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot podcast. He's going to go ahead and give some tidbits from this weekend in the NFL. Right after that, we've got Vince Attullo from That Sports Card Show giving you some ideas on some sports cards you might be interested in outside of the baseball realm. And then last but not least, Josh and I will be coming out. We'll be coming back. Josh and I on the back end will be talking about an article that really hit home with him, and that people, that really makes you think about, an indie rock band, which he's so really into, and he wanted to share his thoughts on that, about what's going on. It deals with it deals with a lot of modern issues that are now current hot topics within our culture. And so he's going to talk about that article, and we're going to share our thoughts on that at the end of the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald once again coming right back at you here. Thanks so much to Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot podcast. As always, check out full episodes of his show every week right here on our Pop Culture Cosmos channel on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast catcher out there. Well, virtually any other podcast outlet out there. And then also Vince Attullo from That Sports Card Show. Check out his podcast, available today at Apple Podcasts as well. Cannot thank them both enough for appearing on the show today. If you'd like a listing of where we're at as far as the radio stations we're being played on, or some of the podcast networks that we're on, check our listings out today. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, because we're being played worldwide 7 days a week on various radio stations around the world, and we truly appreciate everyone that gets a chance to listen to our program. Another great program is Topicocalypse, my friend, part of Humanica Media. So Josh, what's the latest and greatest with your great experience known as Humanica Media?
It's weird. When I was editing an episode today and putting it up online, it was the first time I ever listened to the podcast and been like, hey, it's actually not half bad. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Usually, to me at least, it's like a garbage truck on fire. But This time is actually pretty good. We did an episode about burnout and how you know when you've hit the wall, and that's kind of something that I think we can all relate to pretty well, especially if you're one of us who stays up all night podcasting. So there's that. Um, but yeah, no, it's up on Podbean right now. You can check it out on Podbean, podcast.com, Google Play, Stitcher, and all the usual suspects. It's also got a brief Travis from True Dye stopped by to pick up a green screen, and we just happen to be recording. So he gives us a little info on what he's working on with our buddy Chad Smith of Hyperschmidt. I guess they got some cool stuff coming out. So definitely check it out.
And also check out their social media, because on Hyperschmidt on Facebook, I know he's been putting out some new stuff, new songs that you need to listen to as soon as you can. Josh, I know there was an article that hit you hard over the past week that I'd really like you to share more thoughts on. Everybody needs to go to, when they get a chance, pitchfork.com and search for Reckoning with Pine Grove, because it deals not only with an indie culture, but also some of the major topics that are part of our world and culture right now, whether it's political, whether it's just part of our basic culture. It's a lot of serious stuff that they're talking about that relates to this article.
Okay, I'll give a brief rundown of the article, but then I want to hear your thoughts first because I don't want to end up arguing with myself, which usually happens. All right, so basically, the lead singer of Pine Grove, they're an indie band who kind of mixes, I'd say, folk music with kind of little slight rock sound to it. They took a year off of music and no one understood why, and it turned out that it was because the lead singer had some I guess sexual, I don't even want to know if I'd call it assault or harassment or something a part of the Me Too movement. You have to I still don't I'm still trying to process what's going on in this article, but basically a girl accused him of saying that he was like sexually aggressive with her or something, and then she went and told someone, and then this lady involved in like a punk rock therapy organization got involved and like turned it into this whole thing with the Me Too movement. And then she decided to say that she wanted, we'll get into this in a minute, but basically she escalated the situation, and then it turns out that it wasn't really a situation. It's super confusing because I really need to know what you think of it, because I am still trying to process it. I have my thoughts on it, but I just need to know a second perspective before I put it out there. Basically, he got caught up in the hashtag Me Too movement. He doesn't understand what happened, and some people were throwing some allegations out there about stuff that he didn't understand that he did, or didn't know why it happened, or didn't know that he did it. So he had to take a year off. He went to therapy, had to do all the thing because that's what the fans demanded of him, but he still wasn't really sure what happened. So what are your thoughts on it?
And that's the problem. When you read the article, it makes you think about, where is that gray line? Where is that thin line at, as far as too much, not enough? Does it go overboard? Where in that line do individuals, where people that are too aggressive, and as far as that nature, where do they overstep their bounds? There's different interpretations of it, but in the Me Too movement, and as a father of two daughters who, tries to go ahead and encourage them to do the right thing always, it's just that, where do you have to think, where did that person draw the line about what they thought was appropriate and what they thought was inappropriate? And as you read the article, like you said, you sound still a little bit confused and perplexed about the whole situation going on. It's just a matter of, and I know a lot of times it becomes a situation where it's he said versus she said. And boy, have we had a past couple weeks where it's been that issue in our politics and in our lives. And I know this show, we try to deviate for the most part away from the politics, but this Me Too movement is affecting every part of our realm, and it helps give those the understanding that, hey, we need to go ahead and rethink the way we did. And it does get into our pop culture. It does get into everything that we're doing, because we've seen so many movie executives, television executives. They have these old ways of thinking, and they have these old ways of acting, which are now inappropriate for 2018. And unfortunately, those paths come to haunt them, and they should have realized in the first place that those things are not appropriate for the workplace. But when it gets back to what you were talking about with that article and the lead singer, if he still has a hard time understanding what went on and what he did wrong, even after a year of therapy, I mean, it just needs to be kind of like a sit down with these individuals involved, as far as maybe from one standpoint and the other, and to hear both sides clearly, so we can understand fully the nature of what was deemed inappropriate and when it was deemed inappropriate by that individual that's making the accusation, so that we can go forward and avoid those situations in the future. Because I think, especially from a male standpoint, we're not sure exactly where the line is drawn as far as inappropriate behavior. And that's where we need to focus on as a society, is to understand better when no means no, and what is appropriate for the workplace, what is appropriate for outside the workplace as well.
Right. Well, it's this whole system now of attack first and then dialogue later. Like, you remember that whole thing with Henry Cavill? This was, I want to say, a couple months ago, when he went on and he said, like, on in an interview, I think I want to say it was with Variety, when they asked him like about his dating life now, and he goes, "Well, I'm kind of afraid to talk to women right now because everything's kind of seen as sexual harassment." It was a completely genuine statement. Like, he wasn't trying to be like a jerk or anything. And then, the feminists took to Twitter and kind of tore him apart, instead of like, I think sometimes we just need to ask, like, why we feel that thing that way, and maybe if that's the image coming across, we need to talk instead of like looking for relevance and looking for an opportunity to jump down each other's throats. But with the Pine Grove thing, it was weird to me because when you get down to the end of the article, both parties involved admitted that there was no sexual coercion into anything. It was just uh, the girl just felt like he pressured her to break up with her boyfriend to be in a relationship with him, and that's just high school stuff, and not that they're in high school, but that's life, that's drama, that's what stuff you see on the CW. And it sounds like the therapist lady who worked for, forget the company name, she, uh, was that just because they had a slogan in that said, "Just because you're sad doesn't mean you can't make good music," so something like that. But she was a quote unquote therapist, and it sounded like she just wanted relevance. So she was the third party, and she was escalating everything. And you even see that quote in there when she's like, "You'll have to forgive me. I'm kind of tired from trying to take down one of the biggest bands in the indie scene right now." So it sounded like more than anything, she wanted relevance when this whole thing could have just been handled off to the side between these two individuals. And what really got me was the part where the lead singer's quoted talking to his mom, and he goes, he writes this big old thing, and he knows like he's gonna go on a hiatus and go to therapy and try to like, because that's what the fans wanted of him, and that's like that to me is awesome, good for him. But like, the mom was asking if he was sure he had to do this, and he goes, "Well, this is what this is what they want from me, and I want to show them that I care about these issues." So he did it, and uh, that really spoke to me. So I just hate now that they're back and they put this album out there. There's other bands on the label are trying to get them kicked off the label, and you have all these people who like I don't think they have anything against him as a human being, but they want to be relevant, and this whole hashtag Me Too movement, like stuff like this ruins it for the people who actually do have bad experiences, who actually do want to start a conversation. It's not just like one of these petty little he said, she said things. It's that you have legitimate like horror stories, and it lessens the impact. Stuff like this lessens the impact. So we jump on the relevance train. We want to be noticed on social media and stuff like that. And it really just it's selfish, it's not there's the Me Too movement was started because there were serious problems happening. It's not just people searching for likes or clicks or comments on Facebook. It's something that was meant to genuinely bring awareness, and stuff like this, situation with Pine Grove, like it waters it down. You have these fame seekers, and they want the attention, and they don't really care, I guess, about the trauma of others, if that makes sense. But do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense where I'm going with this?
Well, it's the human condition, my friend, where like you said, there's someone that was hurt, someone that another person that was hurt, and then there's someone that's trying to benefit from these individuals being hurt. And not everybody unfortunately plays down the straight and narrow. Not everybody does the right thing. And it just goes to show you, like you said, there is a legitimacy to the Me Too movement that's extreme, and that it's there for a reason. Is because that finally women are finally empowered to go ahead and speak out because of the injustices that happen to them, and by all means they should be applauded and encouraged to go ahead and say and tell these things so that something can be done in a proper fashion. But when others are taking advantage of the situation, like you said, this therapist does in the article that was mentioned, that's unfortunate that someone was just trying to go ahead and find some relevancy by going ahead and doing that instead of trying to go ahead and find a simpler solution that might have been palpable for both parties.
Yeah, and I just want to close with one more thing. It's sad because you get to the end of the article and it kind of sounds like the girl who like broke up with her boyfriend or whatever, like she really just felt guilty, and that's why she let this whole thing go on as long as it did. But what's sad is that like this therapist lady wanted attention, and it's possible like she ruined this guy's career. And like I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have pressured the girl into breaking up with her boyfriend, but then again, like he didn't force her to do anything. He just did what dudes do. And maybe that's another conversation that
Well, I
society
think you put it right there. He just did what dudes do, and that's unfortunately what dudes have to do is change in order to avoid these type of situations going forward and be able to start thinking clearly about what they need to do and what they need to say. And because it can get now in 2018 in a lot more trouble and a lot more hot water just by doing what dudes do.
Right. But yeah, and it seems like I don't know, like for something like this though, like it almost the cost was too great, and this therapist lady might have ruined his career because he's a very talented musician. And yeah, he was a jerk and shouldn't have, like, I don't know, even put himself in this situation, but like to a lesser extent of what it could have been. Like I don't think that it was worth this lady setting his whole life on fire.
It should have been handled, like you said, it could have been handled probably a little bit more discreetly. It didn't have to be blown up, like you said, to the point where he had to take off a year. But he should have, like you said in the first place, not been such a jerk and did that thing in the first place and try to go ahead and try and accentuate that breakup, because it just leads to more trouble. When you try and go and have ill intentions in any shape or form, bad things are sure to follow. And unfortunately, it did for him when he went out and tried to do what he did.
Right. So if you guys want to know who we're talking about, Pine Grove, they have their new album is out now. It's called Skylight. You can check it out on their Bandcamp page.
And then for the article that's on, again, pitchfork.com. Just got to check out the article, which is entitled, like I said, Reckoning with Pine Grove. That's Reckoning with Pine Grove at pitchfork.com.
Check that out. And all proceeds from, if you go on their Bandcamp page, I'll say Pine Grove. I got the link here. pinegrove.bandcamp.com and purchase their new album Skylight. All proceeds go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Voting Rights. Hold on, I got the other ones here. The Voting Rights Project. So check that out if that's something you're interested in. Like I said, I think they're talented musicians. It's just kind of a shame that this whole situation had to happen. So you guys can make up your own minds about it.
What are your thoughts out there on this situation going on the situation that happened with Pine Grove? Did you think it needed to blow up in the way it did, or did you think it needed to be addressed in the way it was, in the way it happened? Did you think it could have been handled a little bit simpler? Is is the lead singer of Pine Grove, is he still to be at fault? Because I think he's still at fault when it all comes down to it. Mind you, the therapist didn't help matters and should be, should be spoken to, in at least as regards to necessitating blowing up this whole thing and not trying to go ahead and handle it in a more rational fashion. But share us your thoughts on this whole share us your thoughts on this whole Pine Grove situation as far as the relevancy and the Me Too movement. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Any last thoughts on the way out, my friend?
Yeah, actually, I'm playing Forza Horizon 4 right now, and I'm gonna have a review popped up here soon, and also in audio format. But dang, dude, game is absolutely beautiful. It's overwhelming, but it's a very beautiful game.
Well, it wouldn't be a car racing It wouldn't be a car racing game if it didn't look beautiful, man. Because car racing games are supposed to go ahead and maximize out whatever the consoles do, and if it doesn't, it's probably not a good racing. It's probably not a good racing game.
Right, but the whole thing with like everyone going, "Oh, Playground Games is allegedly making Fable. It's gonna suck." No, you look at the open world on this game, and you're like, "Okay, I think our favorite, you know, chicken kicking warrior is in good hands here."
Stole my thunder with that chicken kicking comment because I had it all lined up and ready. But hey, that's okay. As long as those chickens avoid the 200-mile-an-hour Porsches going right by in that new open world of Fable coming up.
Dude, they won't let you run over animals in this game. I've tried.
Enough said. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. In the Pop Culture Cosmos, we thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.